Hello, hello, welcome to this Tuesday broadcast, this Tuesday transmission. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful and so thankful to be here with you. Welcome. I am John Jacob Mubarak, and this is normally Jerry's spot. Jerry, our founder and CEO, my brother, normally his spot where he has his talk usually on Tuesdays, and he is traveling this month. So I get to step in, and Dr. Jeff and I are going to toggle back and forth. So I'm really excited. You know, it's crazy. Here at Rhythmia, everybody talks about the miracle moment in ceremony. But the real miracle is really like who you become on Tuesday. Tuesday afternoon when nobody's chanting for you or blowing shindo on you, and the ego tries to make a comeback. Ceremony gives us the insight, but life is giving us the practice. And this is what I want to talk about today at Rythmia. Rythmia is this amazing, we call it a life advancement center, because what happens here every week is that individuals see who they've become. They see the masks, the roles that we think we need to play in order to get love. Most of us know that already. Most of us know I have a control issue, people pleasing, perfectionism. We know that, right? But at Rhythmia, what the medicine helps you do, and with the curriculum at Rhythmia is you see that, but you also see what it's trying to protect you from, because that's the thing that we're not seeing. We're not seeing that the control is trying to protect you from feeling unsafe from that thing that happened. Here's the crazy thing. So many people come to Rhythmia and they think, I know when my wound was. It was when my parents were getting a divorce, or it was when I was in the war. It was when my girlfriend and my first girlfriend broke up with me. Right? They think they know the moment. But the truth is, it's not these. Sometimes it is those big moments, but a lot of the times it's just that normal life stuff. You know, your dad said something to you, you interpreted it a certain way, and that's been the story of your life. It's those little moments that because trauma isn't what happened. Trauma is the story that we tell ourselves about what happened. So at Rhythmia, you get to all the stuff that you've become. All the games, all the patterns, all the coping mechanisms and strategies that you've been using. What we get to do at Rhythmia is we get to see the story, the emotion that was attached to it that we have been suppressing all these years. The medicine really helps us bring that up. That's what's amazing in the medicine. So, so here we are at Rhythmia, right? You feel this oneness, you feel this wholeness, and then something happens, and you feel like I didn't heal anything. So this is the tone. Rhythmia is really about real transformation, not just peak experiences. So not only do we have the week at Rhythmia, but we have this amazing aftercare program, an integration app that's really awesome, really well done. So I want to talk to you about the gap between insight and embodiment, right? Insight is like a flash of truth. We have this understanding. Oh my God, I see it. I understand. You have clarity. You've made connections that you haven't made before. You can do this in plant medicine. You can do it in breath work. You can do it in meditation. You can just do it walking down the street on a Wednesday. All of a sudden, you make a connection. You have this insight. Oh my God, I do this, or I've been thinking this. Here was an insight for me. I shared it a few months ago about being an experimenter. For years, I had this aggression against myself because I do things that I call stupid. That's stupid. Why didn't you see that wouldn't work? You should have known that wasn't going to work. Why did you even do it? And a friend of mine one day, I did something. I set something on a counter that wasn't going to have it, and it fell. And he goes, "Oh, experimenter." And I looked at him like, "What are you talking about? Experimenter?" He goes, "Yeah, experimenter. You're an experimenter. You've never made a mistake in your life. You just try things and see what works and what doesn't work. And then you want to tell people about what works and what doesn't work." I was like, well, gee, that's my life. That's exactly what I do, right? I try stuff out, and then I want to come here and be like, hey, this works. This doesn't work. That moment switched a lifelong of a lifelong aggressive stance towards myself. And it started when I was a kid. And I'm not blaming my dad for this. I was the one that interpreted it like this, but this is what would happen. I'd do something as a kid, and he would say, "What were you thinking?" And I'd say, "Well, I don't know. I didn't think." And he'd go, "That's exactly right. You weren't thinking. You should have known." No, my dad was trying to teach me. I'm not saying, "Oh, my dad was," nothing like that, because he just said what he said. I heard there's something wrong with me. That's how I interpreted it. There's something wrong with me. So all of my life, that gets instilled, and it's unconscious. I don't even realize that when I do something, I misjudge something, I put something somewhere where it doesn't belong, I knock myself into the furniture, whatever the things that we're doing, I would say, just have an automatic soundtrack like, "You should have known better. Why didn't you see that? That was just stupid." Whatever I'd say to myself. And then when my friend told me, "You're an experimenter," I turned that story from "you should have known better" to, "Well, that didn't work." That's my new mantra. "Well, that didn't work." A whole shift. Now, I had the insight. I had the insight about the story that I told myself and all the aggressions, but it requires embodiment, is the repetition of choosing it. You know, you have to, so I had to continually choose. Well, that didn't work. I needed to create a mantra. I needed to create something, a phrase, a principle, something that I could remind myself every time that happened and the old pattern came up. Then I could say, "Oh, well, that didn't work. I'm just an experimenter. I've never made a mistake in my life." Little by little, that repetition is how we embody. Because what the medicine shows you, ceremony is a revelation. What the medicine shows you, it shows you who you really are, the power, the brilliance, all of it, the dissolving of the old story. You get to see, "Oh my God, I've been treating myself this way for so long." Oh, and then the state of oneness that feels so clear in the moment. I mean, it's a very common thing to have a sense in ceremony that you understand everything about the way the world works. You understand the entire universe and the way it's put together, and you're connected you are to everything, and how insignificant you are, but how important you are. You understand all of this. And then you go back into life, right? So that there's this state of oneness, this state of clarity, this state of, oh my God, everything is clear. The old patterns have dissolved, the old story dissolved. You see yourself as you truly are. Then the medicine starts to wear off, and you go back into life, and life is the dojo, right? Life is the curriculum. The moment the miracle gets tested, the ego's trying to to reestablish these old patterns. And that's so something happens, and I say to myself, "Oh, you're stupid. I can't believe you did that." And then I go, "Oh, well, that didn't work." There I'm through the repetition, right? I'm reestablishing a new pattern, because these triggers, this return to an old way of being, is not a failure on your part. It's not a defect on your part. They are the ways that we're learning. They're the invitations to remember. This is what's amazing. Life is the curriculum. Life is constantly giving you what you need to heal. And if I can't, right, like typically life gives me what it needs to heal. And what do? I hit myself over the head with a frying pan and go, "You idiot. You should have known better. Why are you still doing that? You had that clarity." No, now what I'm doing is, oh, there's something for me to learn here. This is the way integration works. This is the way all knowledge is assimilated. There's a model called the conscious competent model. The conscious competent model. It's been around for a long time, but I really love it because it talks about the way we embody new pieces of information. And so there's first this place where you're unconscious and incompetent, that you were doing the thing. I like to use the example of tying shoes. You have no idea that you about shoes. You have no idea about shoes or laces. The whole shoe and lace universe is completely obscured to you. You have no clue about it. There was a time in your life when that was the case. And then at some point you learned, "Oh, I got to put shoes on, and there's these laces and we tie them. I don't know how to do that." So you're conscious, but you're incompetent. So first you're unconscious and incompetent. You don't know anything about shoes and laces, and you don't know how to tie them. Then you become conscious, but incompetent. I know about shoes and laces. I have no clue. It's completely beyond me. Mom, dad, tie my shoes. You call in the experts, right? If I don't know how to do it, I call in the experts. Mom, dad, help me. And then there's conscious competent, where you have to think about it. You've learned it. You now know it. You can do it, but you had to think about it, right? You had to think. Remember how you had to think about it? The bunny goes through the hole and around the tree and all that. That was conscious competent. And then eventually you became unconscious competent. You didn't have to think about tying your shoes. Hopefully you still don't. And you're 100% competent. You can do it. This is the way we embody. This is the way we integrate. Now map that onto your insights, whether it was in meditation or or just walking down the street or in ceremony or in breath work, whatever it was, you had an insight. You saw something about yourself. There was first, now you're moving to conscious incompetent. And now you want to correct that thing. You're conscious competent. But you have to choose moment by moment. The practice of integration is, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. It's just highlighting how growth works. We actually grow little by little by choosing again. Choosing once again. There's a little practice you can do. Notice, breathe, and choose again. So here I am. I notice I did something I should have, where I normally would say I should have known better. There's the notice. Second, breathe. Take a deep breath. Choose again. Replace it with something. Oh, that was it. That didn't work. You replace it with something, a mantra, a saying, an idea, an awareness that you're okay, that this is actually the way the miracle becomes embodied. Because the real miracle isn't Tuesday night in ceremony. The real miracle is 3 weeks later in traffic, or when you're talking to your mother or your wife or your husband or your kid or your coworker or whatever, and you get triggered and you take a moment and you notice and you breathe and you choose again a new path. The miracle is who you become when nobody's watching. The miracle isn't the vision. The miracle isn't the insight. The miracle is who you become in your life when your lifestyle changes, when you've made real, concrete expansions and advancements in your life. That's the miracle. So I want to invite you to notice one area today where you can choose an insight rather than an old story. What's one area today where you can choose something you've seen about yourself, something that you've noticed, and instead of continuing with the old story, I should have known better, I'm stupid, I'll never get out of this, why am I addicted, instead of choosing that, I want you to choose your insight. Oh, I don't need, who I am is perfect, whole, and complete. I'm an experimenter. I'm just experimenting. Whatever it is for you, choose the insight rather than your old story. And that's all it is. Notice, breathe, choose again. Notice, breathe, choose again. Notice, breathe, choose again. Because ceremony opens the door, but the practice part, that's where you walk through the door. And when you do, the miracle stops being a moment in your life and starts becoming your life. So I want to encourage you to practice today, to just notice, to breathe, to choose again. There's nothing wrong. When you get triggered, when that old pattern comes up, you're not broken, you're not flawed. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing to fix. All you do is choose, pause, breathe, choose again. Pause, breathe, choose again. This is integration. It's been so great to be with you guys today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm wishing you much love on this beginning of December. Thank you so much for checking in. And I will see you. I'm going to do Walking the Path on Thursday. So I'll see you Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific.